So lads, Alyssa Thomas, in what is a annoying but unsurprising situation, has completely exposed Stephanie White and has completely exposed a lot of the things that, people that are the Stephanie White detractors have said about her, and I will always stand by this.
The truth about Stephanie White's coaching is so disturbing that her own former player just publicly executed her entire career on a live broadcast. What I'm about to show you is the post-game quote the WNBA is desperately trying to ignore, and by the end of this video you'll understand why the Indiana Fever's entire season is a fraud. Stay until the very end, because the conflict of interest I've uncovered proves this goes so much deeper than just bad coaching.
Yeah, I said earlier, we know everything they're trying to run, so we just form a game plan around that, and we know they're a team that loves to get to the free throw line, and our goal is just to limit second chance opportunities and just keep us up.
The official story is that the Indiana Fever walked into Phoenix for a must-win game to keep their playoff hopes alive. But what really happened behind closed doors was a complete ambush, orchestrated by Fever head coach Stephanie White's former star player Alyssa Thomas. After the Connecticut Sun dismantled the Fever, Thomas walked up to the microphone and delivered a line so savage, so brutally honest, that it single-handedly exposed the biggest lie of the Fever's season. She was asked how they so easily shut down Indiana's offense, and she didn't even hesitate. She said they knew every single play before it happened, not some of the plays, all of them.
Defense, offense, you guys might have heard it because it's really low, but defense, offense, it's all the same. We know everything they're about to do. We know everything they're about to do.
Here's where it gets absolutely insane. Alyssa Thomas wasn't just guessing. She played for Stephanie White for 2 years, and with a stone-cold look on her face, she told the world everything is pretty much the same. So defense, offense, we know everything they're about to do. Think about the sheer humiliation in that statement. The head coach of the Indiana Fever, the supposed savior brought in to elevate a roster with Caitlyn Clark and Aaliyah Boston, is running a playbook so outdated and predictable that her old players can call it out in their sleep. That's not a scouting report, it's a public execution. While White was pacing the sidelines, Alyssa Thomas was dropping a near triple-double, casually telling reporters, "Yeah, this isn't even hard."
Then you see Caitlyn Clark to the right behind the coach coming out and jawing it.
They matter. But one player's hustle can't cover up a broken scheme.
This is the biggest reason why Stephanie White, I think, has been such a success with the Indiana Fever, because they're playing Connecticut Sun basketball. Stephanie White is good at dragging teams down to her level. And you might have said, oh, but what about the game? And I do think that 1,000,000% Alyssa Thomas is a front runner. I think Alyssa Thomas is a front runner. She literally set her career high and didn't even go in for the press conference because Stephanie White beat her. And the difference is the reason why the Fever won that game was nothing to do with their sets and their offense. It was everything to do with Ari McDonald just going head down straight to the basket. And Nate Tibbetts willing to let Ari McDonald drop 30.
What happened next still gives me chills. This wasn't just about X's and O's. This was personal. While Stephanie White's predictable system was getting torn apart, her superstar rookie Caitlyn Clark was getting into it on the sidelines with another one of White's former players, DeWanna Bonner. You could see Clark jawing at Bonner, telling her to take her agenda-driven attitude down the court. Bonner, towering over Clark, tried to intimidate her, but Caitlyn didn't back down an inch. That is the fire, the moxie, the competitive spirit this team is supposed to be built around. But it's being completely wasted, suffocated by a coach whose strategy has been exposed as a cheap, recycled knockoff. But wait, it gets worse. Stephanie White was hired to be the upgrade. She was supposed to be the steady hand that last year's coach Christy Sides wasn't. Yet, with a generational talent in Caitlyn Clark and a far superior roster, White has won exactly one more game than Sides did at this point last season. 1. Let that sink in. The entire franchise was sold on White as the brilliant offensive mind who would unlock this team's potential. Instead, she's been exposed as a one-trick pony, and the players are visibly paying the price for her stubborn refusal to evolve. This next detail will change everything you thought you knew about this team's struggles. Aaliyah Boston, the reigning Rookie of the Year, looks like a shell of her former self. She's lost, hesitant, and missing layups she would have made in her sleep last year. Fans are comparing her struggles to Angel Reese, and that's not even fair to Angel. Why is Boston regressing so badly? Alyssa Thomas gave us the answer. Defenses know exactly where she's going to be on every single play. They know the post-entry passes, they know the pick-and-roll angles. White's predictable system has turned a dominant force into a sitting duck, and it is destroying her confidence in real time. The evidence was hiding in plain sight, and you don't need to be a coach to see it. Let's go to the virtual film room for a second. Watch any Fever half-court set. They love to run a simple high pick and roll with Boston setting the screen. But opponents know it's coming. The defending guard will aggressively ice the screen, forcing the ball handler away from the middle. The big defending Boston doesn't even have to hedge hard. They just drop back into the paint, because they know the play isn't designed with a counter for Boston to short roll into open space for a pass. It's designed for her to roll hard to the block right into the waiting help defense. Boston isn't missing layups because she forgot how to play. She's missing them because she's constantly taking contested shots against a defense that arrived at the spot before she did. It's schematic malpractice. The real story starts here. This coaching failure doesn't just neutralize superstars, it poisons the entire roster. While Aaliyah Boston is being rendered ineffective, Kelsey Mitchell is out there dropping 29 points. On paper, that sounds great, but if you watch the games, you know the truth. Those are empty calories. Her points don't shift momentum, they don't stop opponent runs, and they don't win games. The system isolates her, forcing her into tough one-on-one situations instead of using her gravity to create for others. Meanwhile, a player like Odyssey Sims, who is on the floor, becomes a complete liability. Defenses sag off her by 10 feet, daring her to shoot, completely blowing up the team's spacing. A good system hides a player's weaknesses. White's system puts a giant neon sign over them. What I discovered next reveals the secret agenda at the heart of this collapse. Stephanie White isn't just coaching against former players. She's coaching against her favorites. There is a glaring conflict of interest every time the Fever play the Sun. Watch White's body language on the sideline. She lights up when talking about Alyssa Thomas and DeWanna Bonner, the very players dismantling her current team. Does that look like a coach locked in a dogfight for her team's survival? Or does it look like someone torn between her past and her present, unable to separate personal nostalgia from her professional duty? Alyssa's words confirmed it. The reason she knows the playbook is because White still loves that old system, and the players who ran it more than she's willing to create a new one for the Fever. Here's the part that nobody saw coming. The mainstream media is absolutely silent on this. After Alyssa Thomas delivered the most damning indictment of a coach you will ever hear, a quote that explains everything about the Fever's struggles, what were the follow-up questions from reporters? Crickets. Nothing. No accountability. It's as if the entire league is engaged in a conspiracy to protect Stephanie White from scrutiny, tiptoeing around the fact that she's coaching a team everyone can read like a children's book. Alyssa Thomas didn't just break protocol. She shattered the illusion of competence the league has been trying to sell all season. She said what the reporters are too afraid to. The document I found proves something truly disturbing about Caitlyn Clark's future. With Clark currently sidelined, you have to wonder what she's thinking as she watches this disaster unfold. When your opponents are openly clowning your team's schemes, and your coach has no answers, why would you rush back to risk your body in a system that's doomed to fail? You can bet she is looking at this coaching catastrophe and thinking, do I really want to jump back into this mess? This isn't just speculation, it's logic. Superstars do not tolerate stubborn coaches who stifle their talent and waste their prime years. If the Fever front office doesn't intervene, they risk alienating the generational player their entire future is built upon. And while the media stays silent and Clark's future hangs in the balance, a much bigger question looms over this entire franchise. Where is the accountability from the front office? The decision-makers who hired Stephanie White, who sold the fan base on this vision, are now watching it crumble in spectacular fashion. Are they holding her feet to the fire behind closed doors? Are they demanding adjustments? Or are they just as complacent, hoping that the sheer star power of Caitlyn Clark will be enough to paper over these massive systemic cracks? An organization's failure starts at the top. The predictability on the court is a direct reflection of a lack of vision and courage in the executive suite. They've been exposed just as much as the coach has. 3 hours after that game ended, the playoff picture became terrifyingly clear. At 21 wins and 20 losses, the Fever are not building momentum. They are in a complete death spiral at the worst possible time. The Los Angeles Sparks are just one game behind them, breathing down their necks. The Fever look like the one team every contender wants to face in the first round. Why? Because as Alyssa Thomas just announced to the world, they are the easiest team in the entire league to scout. You know exactly what's coming before the ball is even tipped. That's not a playoff strategy, it's a surrender. What they found in the game tape changed the entire investigation into this team's failure. It wasn't just Alyssa Thomas's words. The proof is in the film. Go back and watch. The Mercury weren't reacting to the Fever's plays, they were anticipating them. They knew exactly when to double-team Boston in the post. They knew which screens to go under on Kelsey Mitchell. They knew Odyssey Sims couldn't be trusted to shoot. They were 5 steps ahead the entire game because Stephanie White handed them the script. This isn't coaching, it's malpractice. And once a veteran like Alyssa Thomas puts that truth out there, every other coach in the league clips that quote and slaps it on their locker room wall. The phone call that happened next would destroy everything. Well, not a phone call, but a feeling that spreads through a locker room like a virus once players sense their coach is out of ideas. You can see the panic oozing from Stephanie White. Watch her on the sidelines when opponents go on a run. There are no strategic adjustments, no clever timeouts to draw up a new play, just pacing, arms crossed, with a look of helpless resignation. Her assistant, Austin Kelly, looks more engaged. The players see that. Aaliyah Boston's slumped shoulders, Kelsey Mitchell's empty stats, Lexi Hull's exhausted hustle. It's the body language of a team that knows their leader has no answers. So let's call this what it is. Stephanie White is in full-blown panic mode. She's not panicking because of a loss or an injury. She is panicking because Alyssa Thomas just ripped the mask off and exposed her entire operation as a fraud. No evolution, no adjustments, just the same stale, predictable playbook that has been memorized by the entire league. When your dirty agenda of prioritizing nostalgia over innovation gets aired out on live television by one of your favorite former players, that's not just an embarrassing loss, that's a fatal blow.